The Trump info rabbit hole keeps getting deeper. I'm finding stuff that I don't think I'm supposed to be finding. Private and confidential? I feel freaking in danger.
FBI, on the ground! Drop it! Hands!
This ain't real.
Put the phone down!
You've heard of Iman Gadzhi. You've heard of Alex Ramosi. You've heard of Andrew Tate. But did you know that Donald J. fricking Trump at one point ran a $40 million info products empire? I thought this was going to be a joke video at first, but the more that you look into this, it is actually insane. I found private and confidential internal documents from Trump's company detailing how they marketed and sold their products. This dude was running a dang 90-minute free lead magnet investing workshop into a dang $1,500 three-day challenge funnel. A three-day challenge funnel in 2006. Like what? Into a dang $35,000 high ticket. That's like ultra high ticket mastermind offer. This is all back in 2006. I did not know that Trump had anything like this going on. The dude made over $40 million in info, which is more than any info guru that you probably ever watch will ever touch, honestly. The dude is worth $7.3 billion today. So I think we have a little bit to learn from Trump's freaking marketing abilities. Like, this is actually insane. So what we're going to be going over is how Trump built up such a big brand, how he's ultimately getting traffic, ultimately, again, using his brand in order to get that traffic, how he's generating leads out of that traffic, and then ultimately how he's converting those leads. So starting off with his brand over here, the first arc that he really had, I guess you could say, is sort of his real estate arc. I'm not going to give you like a whole bunch of like boring history or anything like that, but just to like show you like actually how Trump built up his brand. Basically, the whole Trump family was like really into real estate, and the first thing that really got his name out there was buying this like hotel and basically like turning it into something else. Everyone really knows about the Trump Tower stuff. That got his name out there more. Started building like a bunch of casinos. And then one thing that I want you to sort of notice about his branding, which is super interesting, is that literally every single possible place that he can put the word Trump, he's going to put the word Trump. And so, like people started seeing, like, okay, we got Trump Casinos, Trump Winery, Trump Network, Trump Home, Trump Hollywood. They see the name Trump everywhere. I mean, dang, like Trump Steaks, like what the actual frick? But this like really like started to get his name out there more. And it's really like, I would say like a piece of like personal branding of like really like self-aggrandizement, right? Getting your name out there because, if you think about what a personal brand is, right? It's about you. It's you and your interests and what you like. And so you want to like put yourself out there as much as possible. And I think that really like sort of like encapsulates that philosophy, right? And so you can also see like sort of the ideas of like, luxury and exclusivity in his branding. His father was like more into like middle class stuff because like obviously like they were into like luxury, and so he was dealing with more like middle class homes and stuff like that, whereas Trump sort of differentiated his sort of brand and went with more like luxury and exclusivity stuff, as you can see like with the color scheme there, going on with like the black and gold and stuff like that. And so at this point he had a big name for himself in Manhattan, but no one else really knew who he was until the media arc, where he wrote this book called Trump: The Art of the Deal, and that was in 1987. And so this is the book that really sort of like launched his international fame and sort of made him like actually as famous as he is today. Or at least that was a part of it, right? And so another thing that I wanted to mention is that he did a bunch of TV and movie cameos at this time. And so he's sort of like appearing on TV, getting into all these drama, even getting into lawsuits even back then, which he actually ended up getting sued for the info product that I'm about to talk about. But I think it really all falls in line with this law, which is Law 6 from the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Really good book, but it's sort of like a court attention at all costs, right? Trump is willing to get attention literally no matter what. And I think that's really another aspect of why his brand was so big. You think back to the quote that he said actually in this book, Trump: The Art of the Deal. Good publicity is preferable to bad, but from a bottom line perspective, bad publicity is sometimes better than no publicity at all. Controversy, in short, sells. I would definitely agree with that. And Trump is like actually an insane marketer, but the dude is willing to get publicity literally no matter what. Which again leads into like our next point, which is like The Apprentice. This is sort of the thing that like really launched his career from like, he was like even nearing like a household name even before this, but especially after The Apprentice, that's when like he like really got blew up and sort of everyone in America knew who Donald Trump was, right? And so at this point, since his brand gotten so big, this is when, as most people do, enter their info guru arc. I mean, dude was running scams in the info space before it was cool. I mean, this guy's ahead of his time, man. But to show you like what was actually going on here, just like my initial thoughts with like the branding of Trump University, right? Sort of that he's using the word university, and this has like sort of like a school, more like academic aesthetic to it. Also notice like the black and gold color scheme, again, very like consistent, because consistency is a very big part of branding, right? Because If you're like changing every 5 seconds, you're not really stable, and people can't really like jive with you as much, and you don't really like have as much of like a brand identity, right? But sort of the fact that he uses the word university, right? I think it's very interesting that, especially back in 2005 when he launched this thing, it sort of has like a built-in credibility to it. I would say definitely since the academic sphere has gone more and more down the gutter throughout the years, probably not as much as credible nowadays. I mean, nowadays you have like, I guess, Hustlers University from Andrew Tate, but that's probably a different thing. I wonder if that was actually inspired by Trump University, but it sort of had like a built-in credibility to it where it's like a university. And so a way that he marketed it was he actually sort of had like, he was framing it more of like a parallel path to university, right? Like you have university over here, but then you have Trump University over here.
We're going to have professors and adjunct professors. We're going to teach you about business. We're going to teach you better than the business schools are going to teach you. It's going to be a shorter process. It's going to be less expensive. And I think it's going to be a better education. And it's going to be what you need to know.
And so he even like had a exclusivity frame thing where he's actually saying like, hey, there's like admission processes and we're not just going to accept anyone into Trump University, right? I just think it was like super interesting how he framed it. And I think that was actually part of the reason that he got into the lawsuit was because he named it Trump University, and you're not really allowed to use the word university, but just purely from a marketing perspective, I think it's pretty genius. And then he was also writing a ton of books at this point, which were really like top of funnel lead generation and credibility builders for Donald Trump, right? And so moving on to the traffic, because we've went over how he built a brand, so how he's getting traffic to his offer, right? As the big Don himself says, you can have the most wonderful product in the world, but if people don't know about it, it's not going to be worth very much, which is very true, because if no one knows that your product exists, they're not going to be able to buy it ultimately. I don't even know how I was able to find this many newspaper ads, but he was running up newspaper ads like crazy. And so, as I might have mentioned before, I'm not sure if I talked about it yet, but he was running a free 90-minute real estate investing workshop, which was essentially like his version of a lead magnet back in the day, right? And so what he was doing was, anytime that he was traveling around the US to these different local areas to host one of these seminars, he was running these local ads in the papers, sometimes like full page, sometimes like, most of the page, sometimes just like a little bit smaller, right? But he was like running these in local areas, and all of these were driving traffic to, the free program, right? Like admission is free. You're going to get like a bunch of these bonuses and stuff like that. You're going to be my guest. Are you my next apprentice? Which I think it's like super interesting there that he frames it more like as an opportunity, actually similar to The Apprentice in scale, right? Like it's like, wow, like it's sort of like associating it with the show even, like, like I sort of get to be the next apprentice. That's sort of cool, right? Because obviously like pretty much everyone in America had at least heard of the show at that point, right? He was also running a ton of direct mail, and from what I heard, like just with the lawsuits and stuff like that, he actually spent over $6 million on direct mail and other like similar campaigns. And he had a database of over 1 million potential students in like emails and home addresses and stuff like that, right? And so we're actually going to go over the sales letter here in a minute. This is the online version, but from what I understand, he ran a very similar campaign, like almost word for word in terms of copy in direct mail. And the third thing he was doing was TV and online ads. You can see the ads there and the TV stuff here. And so that was just another thing that he was doing. In terms of lead gen, there's a few things that was going on here. First of all, he just had his website, Trump University, which he was CTAing to a lot, like in his different ads and stuff. You can see, TrumpWN.com, TrumpWN.com, TrumpUniversityIndiana.com, TrumpUniversityPhoenix.com. And so that was just like another, place to like actually, number one, like collect contact information, but also like nurture the people more, give them a little bit more information about like what they're actually getting into, right? And then we also had like a sales letter on the page, which ran for a little while. And again, like as I mentioned, he also used it as like a direct mail piece. We're going to go over that here in a second. And another thing that you'll notice is actually, interestingly enough, this is me doing a little bit of like inferring, because I sort of had like pieced a lot of this stuff together where like, again, like this was almost 10 years ago or even more than that at this point. I sort of had to like piece together exactly what he was doing here, but on the sales letter, he mentions that he has this, Think Big bonus number 2, which is the free Think Big wealth building consultation. What this is basically like the 2006 version of the modern day strategy call. And so like, you go on all these people's funnels and like, it's like, a strategy session or like even like an onboarding call, or framing it not really like as much salesy, but more like value, right? And so I think like what he was actually doing like on the sales letter is framing this as a bonus to where it was like, hey, like we're going to give you this free consultation, where in reality it was more of just like a thing to more pitch people. And so that's just like an interesting thing there. The reason that I mention that is because I think that leads me to more of the idea that he was actually doing like a decent amount of telemarketing, actually like calling up leads. Again, like that's something I more had to piece together rather than something that's concrete, but just something to mention there. And another thing that he was doing is email marketing. This was literally the only email in existence that I was able to find that Trump set out, but it is there, right? Moving on to the sales letter to actually review it, right? starts out with an opener where it's sort of like trying to decategorize the opportunity. You'll see this almost at like the start of every single sales letter, where obviously like one of the main most important things to do is like showcase how your opportunity is a little bit different to every other opportunity, or not even a little bit different, but like wildly different, to where it's not even like in the same realm of reality, right? So it's not often that I reveal any of my hard-won success secrets for free. However, today is different. Let me explain. Listen, in the next few minutes, I am, with your permission, going to give you a special report. And so he's basically just framing it as a free offer here. And so what you'll see in this sales letter is this is really a bullet-based and value stacking-based sales letter. And so the guy that wrote the sales letter is named Scott Haynes. And so he was like really into like the sort of bullet-based sort of sales letters here. I mean, you can like see like how many bullets he wrote there, but it's really like leveraging like a lot of value stacking and curiosity, right? Of like teasing out what it is without like giving away the secret, right? A little bit of urgency, or like opening a loop here. This is a limited time offer. It's going to expire soon, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they were running this back in 2006. They still run that today, right? And then more bullets there, more value stacking, right? Like it's a bonus, candid conversation with Donald Trump. One thing that's interesting to take note of is the fact that this wouldn't really work nowadays where it's a DVD, but he's framing it as like you get like this physical thing as a free bonus. But then he later mentions that, as I can find here, the DVD is like downloadable, so it's not like actually, like a physical DVD that you're getting shipped out. But where he framed it initially is more like a tangible thing, right? It seems a lot more valuable where you can actually like hold it in your hand and like you're actually like getting something rather than just like an online download, right? And so that was just interesting there. I thought that this was pretty brilliant. This is more like reason why. So anytime that you have like a deal that's like really good, like you can say like, hey, like my ebook is like 99% off or whatever. You have to sort of give a reason. And a lot of people miss this. You have to give a reason as to why you're offering that deal that's, so good, because it seems a little bit suspicious to readers if you're just like, offering your product for like 99.99% off for absolutely no reason. Whereas if you actually give an explanation for it, it's a lot more persuasive. And so the way that he frames it is, there's sort of two catches in order to get this free offer, which it's actually not free, as we'll learn here in a minute, but it's sort of, he's framing it as free up until this point. And so there's a catch as to why you're able to get it for free. The first catch is the special report and TV and DVD are downloadable, which isn't really a catch at all, but just including something makes it more credible, right? And the second catch is he's only going to give you it if you agree to an exclusive risk-free trial of my newly released Make Your Fortune in Real Estate ebook series. And so even that one doesn't really sound like that big of a deal. Obviously, I'd say it's like a little bit more of a catch than, oh no, my DVD is downloadable. How horrible. But he's just framing it again like as a reason why he's doing the thing, which just makes it that much more credible, right? And so he's just teasing out like a bunch of stuff with fascination bullets of like what's inside. I mean, that's like 99% of what the sales letter is. I'm not really going to go over the bullets simply because you can check them out if you want to. The sales letter is like pretty readily available online. A little bit more value stacking there just in terms of the think big bonuses, which I already covered one of them. A reason why again, so after he reveals the price, which is $40, he sort of has to like, again, provide the reason why. And what he does is really interesting. He's ascribing an identity to the person that's reading the sales letter and then urging them to act in a way that is consistent with the identity that he is giving them. And so what he says is, like, I'm sure you'll agree that this is pretty exciting information as well, but wait until you hear the price. And so he's saying, you believe that this is pretty exciting information. Therefore, how are you going to act? You're obviously going to buy it, right? Wait until you hear the price. Okay. So you also believe that the price is low. So like, whereas before it was more like, hey, like, like this thing is just like free. No. Now he's just saying like, because this is pretty exciting information, this little price, it's no big deal. Whereas before he was like more framing it as free. And so we sort of flipped it around there. And then we have pretty much like the average guru reasoning, which we see in like every sales letter, even nowadays, for as, like why he's pricing the success package so low. Because like, like you're going to do this course and then you're going to get super rich off of it and you're going to buy my other courses. And so like, I'm financially incentivized to do it. We even see that nowadays, like pretty much everywhere. Then he has a final guarantee here, just pretty much saying like, take up to 30 days reviewing it. So it's just like a 30-day guarantee there, a little bit of urgency there. And then in my opinion, this is probably one of the best PSs I've ever seen in my life. And I've actually swiped this or taken inspiration from this multiple times when writing my copy. So he says, I've intentionally put a time limit on this offer. Why? Because one of the prime determinants of success in life and business is the ability to make quick, definite decisions. And so what he's doing is actually genius here, where he's saying, if you're not able to make decisions quickly, you're not going to make it in business anyway. So I don't even want you to have this offer. I only want you to have this offer if you're able to make decisions quickly. Therefore, you need to make your decision now, or else I just don't even want you to have it at all. And so like, again, like I would just recommend just like reading through that and like even using that in your sales letters if necessary. Obviously not like ripping it word for word, but taking inspiration from it, because in my opinion, that is one of the best PSs I have ever seen in my life. Moving on to what all of this is actually driving traffic to, it's all going to be the free 90-minute real estate investing workshop, which is an in-person event that he basically like just traveled around the country and delivered. And so Trump was actually balling. There, in one of the lawsuits, it said that there was an estimated 83,000 people that attended here. So dude was absolutely crushing it in terms of traffic. And so this was basically like an in-person lead magnet that Trump ran. And so in a minute, we're going to go over like more of like a, paid event, but this one's more of a free event. And so what you'll see mainly between the difference between the two is in free events, it's more scripted and it's more like emotionally based, of like trying to get people really like riled up and like selling them on your product with, social proof, testimonials, and authority. Whereas in paid events, you'll typically see it's a little bit less scripted than other events, and it's more based around value and like actually giving people value for, since they're actually paying money for it, right? Rather than just trying to like sort of sell them on your next thing. And then again, providing social proof, testimonials, and a little bit of authority. There's actually, I'm not going to go over this like fully, but like he actually like even leaked because of the lawsuit. He was forced to. Like his pre-event planning and like the whole schedule of like everything. Like, I mean, I have everything, man. And like he was even like his funnel that he had, like this is like internal company documents of like what his funnel was. And you can even see here, I'm not just making stuff up. This is his plan, right? It's profit from real estate, the 90-minute presentation that's free. Then the next one is like his workshop offer. And then the next one is like his 3 big packages there. And that's like actually exactly what we're going to go over here. And so next, as I just mentioned, it's sort of like a 3-day paid challenge funnel, or that's essentially what it was, the 2006 version of that. And so typically the format that you'll see in challenge funnels is day 1 is it's a little bit of value. Day 2, it's value and a little bit of soft pitch at the end. And then day 3, it's pretty much just pitching the main day, but there's a little bit of value at the start, obviously, where they're obviously just going to expect that, right? Then he also just has that note in there, a little bit about selling, which I just thought was interesting. And so that $1,500 offer is going to sell people into Trump's ultra high ticket mastermind. I say ultra high ticket simply because, I mean, the dude was selling this for as much as $35,000. It's actually insane. You hardly even see that nowadays in today's info space, but dude was doing it in 2006. So actually wild. And so that's pretty much how Trump built a $40 million info empire. That's also pretty much all I have for today's video, but I do have 2 free things for you, which you can check out. The first one is for anyone in the info space. I do have like a bunch of free resources linked in the description that literally took me over 24 hours of my life just to upload. And that's not talking about like finding them online. That's actually just talking about just the process of uploading them off my computer. It took over 24 hours of my life. So insane amount of info marketing resources there. And just if you sell info and you want to potentially consider working with me, I do have a second link in the description where it basically like goes over to the sales page. I actually crossed it out simply because I don't want to leak the headline because I thought it was really funny, but you can check that out if you want to potentially consider working with me. And I don't do any like hard pitches or anything like that, or like really hard sales tactics. The way I actually structure my calls, as I'll explain on the page, is I pretty much just like talk with you and go over your business and potentially see like if I would actually be a fit. Like it's not like, fake strategy call nonsense. It's like actually me just talking about your business, right? And so you can check both of those things out if you want, but other than that, take it easy, or better yet, don't.